Hey y'all, HH-BlueDynamite here, the number 2 has been blue, for my very first video of the year, very first Bleach-related video, as well as the first video in the like a productive video in the past 2 years. And obviously here I'm going to focus on my initial thoughts on the anime and manga Bleach. And whatever else I have in mind to talk about, I'll just save that for any other future videos. For anyone who's not really aware of what the story is about, Bleach is Tite-Kubo's second manga preceding Zombie Powder, which was, I think, discontinued due to mental health reasons. I'm not 100% sure. But Bleach, I believe, was made in 2001. Because the manga, I do remember that the manga itself is like take place in 2001, and usually that's how that goes in certain shows and whatnot, where it takes place on the year that they're initially created. The story itself revolves around a teenage boy by the name of Ichigo Kurosaki, who has rather unusually natural colored hair, at least for his world, because it's like this orange amber color, which is often caused him to be a target of like thugs because he looks like a thug. So he has like a rather tough exterior, but he has like, a heart of gold. His other unique feature is the fact that he could see ghosts. He can talk to spirits, which was something he had ever since he was a child. One night he has a chance encounter with a young woman by the name of Rukia Kuchiki, who is in fact a Shinigami, a god of death, or as in the Viz translation, is Soul Reaper. During that initial encounter, Rukia Kuchiki winds up having to give her powers to Ichigo to fight off a demon, which is referred to as a hollow, thus turning Ichigo into a substitute Shinigami, and helping Rukia out with helping souls to cross over, as well as defeat any other hollow that would try to attack Ichigo's town, Karakura. The initial overarching story of Bleach is overcoming your shortcomings, overcoming fate, overcoming any sort of obstacle that's in your way, overcoming grief, that's for one, as well as self-acceptance, since Ichigo will wind up facing identity crisis after identity crisis throughout this story, and obviously shatter fate in a sense. Now, this is where things get a little... I'm sure a lot of people's going to get divided on this, but this is my initial thoughts, and this is how I feel about it. What I like and what I dislike about this story. And for one thing, it is the characters. All of the characters, in of themselves, are very interesting. And maybe I should go ahead and say, spoilers. My bad. Since this is, a show that's been going on for, initially ended in 2016. No, 2012. The manga ended 2016. Yeah. And of course, with the recent anime adaptation for the last arc. So, yeah, a little late to say spoilers. But, as I was saying, the characters are in themselves incredibly interesting in their own right. Their designs are kind of cool. Obviously, some of their backstories are very peculiar. And just how it is. And of course, the other thing is just, I'm a sucker for world building. I'm a sucker for how things can be changed in a way to fit the story. In the world of Bleach, I believe, I don't know when this was stated, but it's the realms or the dimensions of Bleach is based around the Buddhist samsara, the 6 realms of samsara. I cannot say the actual words at the moment, but You have the human realm, the which is the world of the living. You have um, the Soul Society, which is where Rukia came from, and Wickelmundo, which is essentially the realm of demons. The other three, well, there's Hell, but that one doesn't get talked about very much in the show, except for a potential arc. And again, I'll talk to that in some point in the future. The other two, unfortunately, isn't really talked about, and again, I'll get into that in a small bit. But there is a lot of like Buddhist symbolism and whatnot. There's also a lot of emphasis on black and white, in case you can't tell. As well as like anything involving, like, let me go ahead and put it like this: the rain is going to be a very prominent feature. And I like that. I'm a sucker for world building, lore, symbolism, and whatnot. And of course, since it is a shonen, I did like the fights. I thought they were pretty cool. When they're getting going, the power system is okay. You can kind of tell that I'm trying to give it some positives, and there is a lot of positives in it, but I do have some criticisms, and I'll get to that in about a second. With what I dislike about this show. Well, for one, it is the pacing. I do agree that after the Soul Society arc, things started getting a little iffy. Because a lot of the times, when it comes to the fights, here's the way that I described it. I described Bleach, at least post Soul Society, as a battle arena game being put on a different platform, where obviously the main focus is fighting, and I get it, it's a battle shonen, but you could still add stories, right? And the other thing, and maybe, like, obviously, I watched the anime before I read the manga. The filler arcs definitely did not help on the matter. Because at least there's 4 filler arcs. There's 4 filler arcs. Whereas 2 of them kind of is placed in a really good spots between certain arcs. The other 2 is like put smack in the middle of bigger arcs, which is kind of disorienting quite a bit. And that didn't really help with the pacing and all that matter. And the other is, like, going back to the whole battle arena thing. A lot of it is 1v1. And a lot of it is standing around and talking. And, like, that is, like, a major thing that kind of gets on my nerves a small bit, is, they will talk about what their abilities can do, and it's freaking weakness. And I remember, sitting there thinking in my brain, why? What are you doing? Stop! Dude, don't tell the enemy of all this stuff. There's only like one exception to this thing, and again, I'll say that to another time anyways. The other thing I don't like about it is the lack of focus on the main characters. And again, I would pretty much blame some of the filler arcs on this matter too. But the main characters, at least from my understanding, at least according to the wiki, is Ichigo Kurosaki, Rukia Kuchiki, Uryu Ishida, Orihime Inoue, Yasutoru Sado, and Renji Abarai. The Renji, I feel like, is like the 6th ranger in that sense. But all in all, these are supposed to be our main characters. But a lot of the times, we put major focus on the side characters. And that kind of bothers me a small bit. Because it's almost like the story kind of lost its plot at one point. A lot of times, honestly. And I noticed this, it's like, again, I think it's because a lot of times we're focused on the fights, and again, they're cool. But once you start to move away from those fights, you realize there's a lot of shortcomings. the like as such as this other thing is disconnected or retcon lore. I have heard somewhere that at least it was a Bleach related post where, you know, someone was talking about the inconsistencies and retcons that is in Bleach, and someone responded to it saying, well, it's not a retcon if the creator changed their mind, and there is truth in that. I agree with that. But there is, like, it's a retcon if there is an already established thing that has happened, and it pretty much has concrete proof. And what makes it a retcon is that it essentially blatantly ignores it to like change a certain thing. And I will say this, and this kind of goes into conjunction with the final arc that I put in that list too, in that a lot of the retcons, a lot of the disconnected lore is very much evident in the final arc. And then there's also abandoned plots where I would get into that when I get into that. Well, really, a lot of it involves this one specific character that I'm getting in my brain at the moment. It's one more prominent character, and if you know, you know. The other thing is that there's a lot of overhype when it comes to, like, you know, again, it kind of goes back to the whole talking about your abilities, talk about how amazing it is, how it does this, how it does that. That you get this build up, you get this hype over what this ability can do, only for it to be snuffed out and never used again. Mostly as a way to show how powerful the opponent is, and that gets old very quickly. Like, I can kind of get that happening a lot, but if that's the only reason to show that ability, it loses its punch, if that makes any sense. Not only that, but again, the whole coming up with something, and again, there's nothing wrong with just coming up with something on the fly in order to like fit into a specific thing. But again, it kind of goes back to the whole disconnected lore where it's never really brought up again and just ignored for the rest of the story. And similarly to, like, at some points it felt like the story kind of lost its way. There's also the poor world building. Again, we emphasis on the focus on the Shinigami, and there's nothing wrong with that because they're kind of the main organization, and a lot of times being put as the main characters, which again, that kind of like grinds my gears a little bit. But unfortunately, other factions don't get as much as development as the rest of the characters, as other characters. So there's a lot of mischaracterization, poor development, and it's just overall was not like structured good. And then there's the whole final arc, and as well as the ending. And this is where I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have a lot of people like rage at me, but this is my honest opinion on the matter. And again, this is spoilers. Because, you know, in a lot of anime, for some reason, they would, like, you know, shove two people together and have babies. Naruto did that, although that one's a little slightly more accepting to me. I still have my critiques on it, but whatever. But yes, I do not like the end pairings in the final arc and the epilogue, solely because of their poor development. I have nothing against these ships, but what I am more mad is the lack of development. And again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, where with the abandoned plots is the lack of development in specific character story arcs, and obviously it just winds up biting the whole narrative in the butt. And the final arc really kind of showed me just, and maybe because of another show that I've watched and I regret to this day, I become overly critique about certain stuff, but it could have been better. There's so many opportunities where this could have been so much better. And I'm sure that, like, seeing how incensed I am with the things I dislike. You think I don't like this show, but in all honesty, I still like it. To me, like, I get what Tite Kubo was trying to do. Like, he has so many of these beautiful ideas, and I am all for them. It's just that, unfortunately, it kind of felt like he doesn't really give them time of much thought of how he can, like, implement these ideas into a story. And it winds up, like, bogging down certain stories, abandoning certain plots, abandoning, like very crucial development for certain characters. And again, it's the whole, lack of focus on where, like, who, like, wait, the story's supposed to be revolved around Ichigo, but sometimes feels like he's not the main character. And that's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, I still love this show, and maybe that's why I'm so harsh on it, is because there was a lot of potential in it, and a lot of it was just not met, either due to, like, I'm aware with the thing with the final arc was that Tite Kubo, he was sick. He was essentially forced to rush the final arc, which is a big no-no. And I do think that in a lot of ways of why, like, there's a lot of abandoned plot points, under development to certain characters, is, while some of it could be because of Tite Kubo, another thing is, outside interference. Like, his editors pretty much talk him into, like, doing this or out of this, and some of that, again, I'll get into videos involving certain characters. But all in all, despite all of, like, the negative stuff I've said about it, the story itself, at its core, is still something to enjoy. And I can't wait to talk a bit more about those things in future videos and future installments. Because while I do have a lot of critique, I just enjoy what Tite Kubo was able to give us, at least initially. And with the pretty much the final part of the anime, of the final arc, coming up this July, and while I've long since, accepted the fact that not a lot of the things that kind of made the final arc bad is still in it, I'm very curious what's going to be shown in part 4, since from I remember, a lot of it's going to be original stuff. And I can't wait to see what that would entail. But until then, hope everyone has a blessed day, and please stay tuned for more later.